Good morning, everybody. As we go to the chitas of today, we are holding in the book of Genesis. We are holding in the Parshas Miketz. We are holding right now on chapter 41, verse number 53. Vatachalna Sheva Asava. It ended the 7 years of plenty. That was in the land of Egypt. And the 7 years of famine began. Like Jesus said, and there was a hunger in all the lands. But in the land of Egypt there was bread. Verse 55. And the entire land of Egypt hungered. And the people cried out to Pharaoh. They cried out to Pharaoh. He said, what do you want from me? Go to Yosef. Whatever he tells you, you should do. She said, for their grain, which they have stored, all decayed. Everything that anybody stored for themselves grain, it all went bad. Besides, that was for Yosef. Whatever he tells you to do, you should do. What was the problem? Rashi says, since Yosef told them, because Yosef told them that they should circumcise themselves. And he said, Yosef says the only way we can get food is if we circumcise ourselves. So that's a problem. This is what he told them. Why didn't you gather grain? Didn't he announce that for the years of famine are coming? They replied, we gathered much, but it rotted. So Pharaoh said to them, if so, do whatever he tells you to do. If he tells you to circumcise yourself, go circumcise yourself. He issues a decree upon our grain and it's rotting. What if he issues a decree and we'll die? So therefore, we should listen to whatever he says. Whatever he says, you should do. The famine was upon the face of the land. And Yosef opened up the storehouses in which there was grain. And he sold it to the Egyptian. But the famine intensified in the land of Egypt. Rashi says, what means the face of the land? These are the rich. The rich was starting to feel the pain of the famine. Which where there was grain. The word shever is sometimes an expression of selling and sometimes an expression of buying. Here it's using an expression of selling. Return buy shivru us from food, an expression of buying. It's above Mitzrayim, and the whole land came to the land of Egypt. Lishbeit al Yosef, they all came to Yosef. Because the famine intensified in the entire land. Ashi says to Yosef to purchase, but interpreted this verse according to the sequence. It should have been written to purchase from Yosef. Yaakov. And Yaakov saw, Yaakov saw that there is shever, there is food in the land of Egypt. Yaakov said to his children, Lama tiro, why do you look satiated? Now she said, Yaakov, from here, where did he see it? It is not true that it is not true that he did not see it, only that he heard of it. So what it means by yar? There was no TV those days. So what did it mean? So it should have said he heard. As it says, behold, I have heard. What then is the meaning? And he saw, vayar. So here he saw a divine mirror, that he saw the yes shever. Shever also means that he saw that there's hope in Egypt. He didn't know exactly. He saw that something is good in Egypt. There's something that's a positive thing happening in Egypt. And therefore, he saw that there's actually something phenomenal in Egypt at this present moment. That there's going to be, that there's an aspect in Egypt that's happening there. And he didn't realize it was Yosef. But Mamish idea, he didn't have a complete vision to realize that it was going to be Yosef who was in Egypt. Lama titro. Rashi says, it's an interesting word, titro. Why do you show yourself before the sons of Yishmael, the sons of Esau, that you are safe? You look like very happy. There's a famine going on, and seemingly we have food. But at that time, they still had grain. And it appeared to me, it should be explained according to the simple meaning, lama titro. Why should everyone stare at you and wonder that you are not seeking food for yourself before what you have in your hands is depleted? For others, I've heard titro is an expression of emancipation, means that they were hungry. Why should you become emaciated? Because of the famine. Similarly, if this is emaciated, so titro also comes from the word to be hungry. He told, behold, I heard that there is food in Egypt. Redu Shama, go there. V'shivru lanu misham, go there and get us food. V'nichyev alei namus, go and get us food, so that we will eat and we won't be starving. Rashi says, Redu Shama, he didn't tell go there, he said go down there. Remez l'Messiah ve'esim shana. This is the remez. This is alludes to the 210 years. Redu is 210. That the Jewish people would be enslaved in Egypt. So in essence, he said, you're going now down to Egypt because now is going to start Golus Mitzrayim. So the brothers of Yosef went down to get food in the land of Egypt. Ashi says, Yosef. It doesn't say the sons of Yaakov, it says the brothers of Yosef. This teaches us that they regretted selling him and decided to have behaved in brotherly manner and ransom him for whatever amount of money they would ask for. Asara, why is it written 10? Is it not written that Yosef's brothers, Benjamin, Yaakov did not send? So we know that already. There's 10. It's obvious there were only 10. But it means concerning their brother, they went down driven by 10. For neither the love they had for him, for neither the love they all had for him, Yosef, nor the hate they all had for him were equal. Hence, in the attribute of brotherhood, they were divided into 10. As according to the buying of the grain, they were all one cord, Kulam b'leiv echad. But Joseph's brother Benjamin, Yaakov did not send with his brothers. He said maybe something will happen to him. Ash says at home no misfortune can befall him. But here we learn, Abelazim Yaakov says, we learn when the Satan accuses a person in a time of danger. And that's why we say Tfilah Saderech in a time of danger, even though you could maybe something can happen to you while you're driving down the street also. But when you leave the city and you're in the open fields, there's more a concept of danger. Verse number 5: the sons of Israel came to purchase amongst those who came. Because the famine ultimately reached also the land of Canaan. Rashi says, what means amongst those who came? They hid themselves in the crowd, so they would not be recognized. So they all hid themselves. These brothers hid themselves between all the people that came in, and you could not recognize them. And they shouldn't come in one door. They all went in to a different door, so that the evil eye would not power them, for they were all handsome and strong, and thus people would envy them, and therefore They all hid in different ways. Yosef and Yosef was the ruler of the land. Mashbid, he was the one who gave grain to the entire populace of the land. Yosef, and the brothers of Yosef came, and they bowed down before him. This is where the dream is coming true. They prostrate themselves before him on the faces, so every expression of ashtachava is spreading of hands and feet. Ashtachava means not like though you bow down. Ashtachava means you lay down. That's how you used to lay down before the kings, lay down. Yosef, and Yosef saw them, and he recognized them. He's not going to let him, he made himself a stranger to them. He cautious. He spoke to them a little harshly. He said to them, I am Basim. Where are you coming from? We came from the land of Canaan to get some food. Now she says he behaved to them like a stranger verbally by speaking in a harsh kind of a tone. And Yosef recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Now she says, Yosef, because he left them when they were already fully bearded, and by the opposite was him, because when he left, he was not a fully beard, and now they found him fully bearded. God the Medrash, Yosef recognized his brother when they delivered into his hands. He recognized that they were his brothers, and he had compassion upon them. That's the meaning he recognized them. But they did not recognize him when he fell into their hands to behave towards him with brotherhood. And that's what it means by Yakidim, that he recognized them. Yosef remembered the dream that he had dreamt. And he said to them, you are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land. Now she says, he remembered the dreams, and the dream came true. They bowed down in front of him. I should expose the land. Why are you trying to expose the land? From where it's easily to be conquered. So that's the meaning of the word. Verse number 10, they said to him, that's not true. We have not come to conquer no lands. We have come here basically to get food. Do not say this. We came here for one thing. We came here just to get food. We are all the sons of one man. We are honest people. Your servants, not spies. Now she says, the Holy Spirit flickered within them, and they included him with them. Kulanu, they said, all of us. For he too was the son of their father. Canaan, we are truthful people. He said, no, it's not true. You came to see this land. The nakedness of the land. How she says, my proof is, for you have entered 10 gates of the city. Why didn't you enter all in one gate if you're not coming to search out the land? You came into different gates. So they said the truth. The truth is, we'll tell you the truth. We, your servants, are 12 brothers. B'nai ish echad be'eretz Canaan. One of them is the land of Canaan. V'ina koten es avino hayim ve'echad inana. And behold, the youngest is with our father today, and one is gone. So now you asked us why we came into 10 different gates, because we came for one reason. And that the one is gone, we scattered to the city to seek for him. We're looking for our brother that is missing. We thought we'll come into different parts of the city, and we will ultimately find our brother in these different in one of these parts of the city. Yosef said, see, now you're saying the truth. That's what I told you. You're spies. So that's the thing that I spoken, namely, you're spies. It is true and correct. This is according to the simple interpretation. The Medrash, it says, however, he said to them, and if you find Yosef, if you find your brother, and the owner demands a large ransom, he demands a lot of money, will you ransom him? They said, yes. And if he says, no, I'm not going to give you for any money in the world, what will you do? They said, for this we have come to kill or be killed. He said, we're gonna take him by force. So he said, that's exactly, I've come to slay the people. You're coming to destroy people in my city. So you're coming to attack the people of my city. I have a divine cup that says that just two of you could destroy the whole city. Two of you destroy the whole Shechem. So you are coming here to destroy Egypt. So therefore, you're gonna have to prove yourself. And he said, you had a younger brother, then bring your younger brother here. Now she says, if Pari will live, when he swore falsely, he swore by Paro's life. Send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and let him go get your brother. And the rest of you will stay over here in prison. I'll lock you all up. If that's not going to happen, so by the life of Pharaoh, out to your spies. Now she says, if the truth is you, the hey is vocalized of Patach, Ha-emes, Yosef, Isam, Alamishma, he put them all in prison for 3 days. She says, Mishnah based Asurim. And then the third day, Yosef called them all out. This is what you'll do. I'm changing my mind. And you're going to live. I'm going to change the situation. As a lakim aniyera, I'm afraid of God. And therefore, I'm going to change the program. But that completes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day. Today, we continue the fourth chapter of Tanya. Until now, it is explained that the divine soul has 3 garments in which it clothes itself: the thought, speech, and action of the Torah and the commandments. Alter Rebbe now goes on to state that unlike physical garments, which are less important than the wearer, over here the garments, the divine soul, are even loftier than the soul that wears it. And that's what to realize, because the garment over here is the mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe says, I'm calling a garment the thought of a mitzvah, the speech of a mitzvah, and the action of a mitzvah. That means that the garment is the mitzvah. And if the garment is the mitzvah, then seemingly the garment, you would think garment's lower than the soul. But actually the mitzvah is greater. So that's about thus wearing the garments, meaning thinking and speaking the words of Torah and acting the performance of commandments, elevates the soul to a higher level. And that's why the soul, even though the soul comes from a very high place, but ultimately there's a purpose why the soul came down to this world. You would think that doesn't make sense. The soul that was in Gan Eden was in a very spiritual place. Why would it want to come? What would it gain in coming to the world? To making this world a better world. What is the gain for it? There's no purpose in it if it's just for the world. So the truth is that the Chassidus says there is a purpose in the soul. There's an aliyus and a shamam. The soul itself has an elevation by coming down to the world and elevating the world. So the soul itself is elevated. For since the Torah and commandments are one with God, the Jew, by donning the garments of Torah and commandments, also become united with him. And as the Alter Rebbe is going to explain, these 3 garments, Torah mitzvah and the Torah mitzvahs, even though I'm calling them garments, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, which they're the garments, to the nefesh, to my 3 levels of my soul, which is in me. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. Those are the 3 basic levels of the soul. Naran, you'll hear that many times. Naran, nun, reish, nun. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. Which the nefesh is the action of the soul. The ruach is the emotions of the soul. The neshama is the intellect of the soul. Im koze gavoyu g'dela my losel indicates these, nevertheless, the quality of garments of the Torah and commandments is infinitely higher and greater than that of the nefesh, ruach, and neshama itself. Because as Isaiah writes, that the Torah and the Holy One, blessed be, is one. Pirush Chachma, since the Torah is the wisdom, it's the wisdom and the will of God. And meaning the wisdom of the Torah expresses God's wisdom, in particular application of the law, meaning, etc. Whether or whether not practical object is kosher, expressed his will, is one, kula chad, is one with the glory of God. That is God. God is his wisdom. So it's one aspect. So the Torah is one with God. So the mitzvah is one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as the Rambam writes, he is the knower and the knowledge. And the known, as explained above in chapter 2 in the name of Maimonides, that the three aspects, separate and distinct in terms of human intellect. You have the knower, the knowledge, and the known. But by God, the known, the knowledge, and the known is one thing, which the Rambam says it's very hard for a person to comprehend that statement. Because by us, there's three different entities. There's the knower, the knowledge, and what is known. So by God, intellect that relates to God is one the same entity. They are all godliness. So if so, according to the Rambam, according to the Alter Rebbe, the Torah, being God's intellect, is thus one with God himself. And when a Jew understands and unites himself with it, he is united with God himself. From the above, we understand, since the garment of thought, speech, and the Torah, study, and the act of performance of commandments are united with God, they are even higher than the soul itself. However, the question presents itself, how can it be said that in understanding Torah, one comprehends God's wisdom and will, when God's wisdom, like God himself, are infinitely beyond man's limit comprehension? So how is it possible for a finite entity to comprehend an infinite entity? So this is explained, although the Holy One, blessed be, is called Ein Sof, infinite. To his greatness never be fathomed. Less machshava tfisa b'klal, no thought can apprehend him. So how can you say that by learning Torah you unite with the wisdom of God when no thought apprehends him? But it's saying and so is will and wisdom, which is infinitely and unfathomable. As is written, there's no searching of his understanding. As it's written, will you search, understand God? Will you find him? As written, my thought is not your thought, says God to man. Thus, human thought is incapable of grasping God's divine thought. How then can it be said that an understanding Torah one grasps God's wisdom? This, the Alter Rebbe answers that God compressed and lowered his wisdom, clothing him with the physical terms of the object of Torah and its commandments, so that it might be accessible to human intelligence, in order that man may thereby be united with God. That's what this is a very favorite statement in the Gemara. You know, Amru, this is what they said. Where the sages said, where do you find the greatness of God? There you find his humility. Meaning, how can we approach God's greatness to find it and unite with it? Through his humility. When God compressed himself, that's the concept of tzimtzum. The Eibishter made space for somebody else. Tzimtzum is the concept of space, an empty space, so to say. When God made an empty space, by making that empty space, that symptom, that compression, automatically gave the capability for another entity to come inside, to my seichel to come inside, by lowering himself to our level. So God compressed his will and wisdom. In the 613 commandments of Torah and its law. As mentioned above, the logic of law represents divine wisdom and the ruling divine will. And in the letter combinations of the Torah and the very letters and the words of the Torah contain God's will and wisdom. Therefore, even one who is ignorant of their meaning fulfills the precepts of the Torah study by merely just reciting them. So there's a power in saying the words of Tanakh, even if you don't understand the words of Tanakh. Because that alone is the words itself is godly. That's what's called Lashon Kodesh. It's called the holy tongue. That's why on every Shabbos we call people up to the Torah. They make a blessing over the Torah, even though they have no comprehension in the meanings of the words of the Torah, because the words of the Torah itself are holy. They are godly words, and in every word is a combination of letters, godly letters that create godly words, and therefore Pashut saying, as the Rebbe writes many times, that simply saying words of Torah. That's why everybody should know a Mishnah by heart. It's a question if you're allowed to say the words of Torah, the Chumash by heart, but you should know a Mishnah by heart because that's Kodesh Baal Peh. That's what's called the Torah that was said by mouth. So it's not something that was written like the Torah Shebiksav, which you have to read the written word. But in Torah Baal Peh, the oral law, you could say it orally, and therefore every person should have a Mishnah by heart. It's not hard to have a Mishnah in your mind. And you should say the Mishnah, you say the words of Torah, because that refines the world. The words itself refine the world. Then you go to the Shasei, Shabbat God, Midrash Chachamim Zohar Rach, and God, will, and wisdom are also contained. The Shasei, the expounding of the Torah, Shabbat God, the verses found in the Agada, in the Medrash, about saying about the whole Gemara. They should call. Why did the Eibishter ultimately God came down into Pashut? God humbled himself, so to say, gave space. His contraction gave space so that everybody would be able to become part of it. It would be not an exclusive entity. It would be a book that's open to everybody, and everybody can learn from it. Shakol did all of this. God compressed his will and wisdom in order that every neshama, or even every lower level of ruach and nefesh, even though the neshama is the intellect in the neshama. Maybe I'm not so intellectually, but I can get emotionally involved, and I can surely get actionally involved. So whatever level I want, whether it's intellect, whether it's emotional, whether it's even actions, I can connect myself to God. If the Eibishter would only come intellectually, then we'll have less people involved. If the Eibishter only came into emotionally, maybe they have not that many people. But surely, right? The action is the most important thing, and everybody can. So every person can have a connect to God. Right? We know that's general law. Mitzvahs and tzich kavana. That really a mitzvah does not need any kavana, any thought per se. And you could do a mitzvah like kavana. You did the mitzvah because that's the will of God. So the Eibishter gave a capability for every person to connect to him on all levels. The best thing would be if you have all the levels, that you're connected intellectually, emotionally, and action. All of them are connected. That's the ultimate. The beauty is that every person can learn Torah. It's not an exclusive book. for certain kind of people. It's there for everybody. Well, a kaimam, then he can everybody could call mash'ef l'kaimam, everybody, in order that every nefesh, ruach, and neshama fulfill them as far as they can fulfill in action, speech, and thought. By day zeh, tislabish b'chol eser b'chinas, thereby clothing itself in all the 10 faculties of these garments of thought, speech, and action of the Torah. And that's why this is pashta gift. The Eibishter gave us a gift. The Eibishter Pash, simply God gave us a gift. The gift that we can Pasha connect with Him. And it's only that the Eibishter was a mitzvah himself, so that he contracted himself, that's why we have this gift. If the God would not contract himself, would not give space for himself, we would never have this gift. The truth is, that's why the Eibishter says, in a way, we all need to learn from him. We need to mitzamtzim ourselves. We need to make space for somebody else. If we don't make space for somebody else, we'll never have true Avas Yisrael, because it will be only on you'll have Avas Yisrael according to your rules. True Ava is that I make space for somebody else. So where there's humility, just like God, so to say, had humility and made space for me, I should have humility and make space, first of all, for him, make space for God, and make space for somebody else. So that I should mitzamtzim myself, I should contract myself and have humility and make space for another person. And that ends the Tanya for today. Today is the first day of the month, the Chodesh. And the Tillim of today is chapter 1 through chapter 9. Chapter 1 through chapter 9. If you do those 9 chapters, you do the Chitas of the day. I wish you all a great day and a good Chodesh. Happy Hanukkah. And Amit Shem, I'll see you all tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll continue the Chitas of the day. Have a wonderful and beautiful